Good morning, everyone. Today is March 17th, 2020. Welcome to Reflections from the Prayer of Recollection. Today we're looking at Luke 18:15 through 17. So let's dive into the reading. One day, some parents brought their little children to Jesus so he could touch and bless them. But when the disciples saw this, they scolded the parents for bothering him. Then Jesus called for the children and said to the disciples, "Let the children come to me. Don't stop them, for the kingdom of God belongs to those who are like these children. I tell you the truth, anyone who doesn't receive the kingdom of God like a child will never enter it." So this is a really great section, and there's a lot of kind of cool nuances in here, but for today's vlog, we're going to go with a story. So it starts with when I was doing prayer of recollection with this yesterday. When I do prayer of recollection, I take my phone. I try to remember to turn on do not disturb mode, and then I set a 30-minute timer and set my phone down upside down beside me and try to just ignore it from there on. So I did all of that, and I started doing prayer of recollection, and I was really, I was thinking through each verse of the section and, talking to Jesus about it and imagining it. And I got to the part that it says that we are to be like these children, and anyone who doesn't receive the kingdom of God like a child will never enter it. And it actually really corresponded well with, recently I've had this amazing experience. I don't remember if I've talked about this or not, of feeling like, so I'm a list-oriented person. I love lists. I live by lists. I die by lists. They kill me. My problem is that my ability to generate lists outpaces my ability to complete the items on the list. So my list just gets longer and longer. It becomes a taskmaster for me. And as I get older, it just feels more and more like a burden. Well, recently I've had an experience. Won't do the whole backstory here. That's another cup of coffee. Where I feel like God has taken my lists and sort of put them in a big jumble. And again, put all those tasks like in a big bucket. And I've actually pictured the bucket as being like, I don't know if you've ever been to bingo, the way the real bingo players play. They put all those balls with the numbers on them inside of a big ball that they spin with a handle, and then one of the numbers pops out in the chute. And I kind of feel like that's how God's been doing with my tasks recently, that like all my tasks are in this big ball he's spinning around, and then he turns the handle and he pops one out and he says, "Okay, Martha, here's your next item." And these are more macro tasks, like big tasks, like the website that I'm working on now, for example. And sometimes I'll even I feel like sometimes I'll even try to reach for a different ball, one that didn't pop out of the chute. And it's almost like he'll slap my hand gently, lovingly, and say, "No, that's not the ball I gave you. Work on the ball I gave you." Okay. So, so when I was having prayer of recollection, my mind was kind of going with corresponding thoughts on that. So I was thinking about a child, and how, as a child, how the parent, especially a young child, I was picturing like a 4-year-old, the parent arranges the life for the child, and the child just takes the life as it comes. They don't always like it, but they know that they're not the one designing the schedule, the life, the activities, the events. So if they get up and mom says, "Today's the day you go to the dentist," then the child goes to the dentist, and mom knows that the kid needs to have great, strong teeth for their best future. If mom says, "Today's the day you go to preschool," then they go to preschool that day. And if mom says, "We're going to the grocery store today," then they go to the grocery store and they get food today. So just thinking about how sometimes we try to act like we're the parent, we're the one designing and arranging all the tasks. That's certainly how I've been oriented toward life. Instead of us being the child and following God's leadings. And I recognize that this has just been a gift that He's been dealing with me in this way recently. And anyway, so I'm in my prayer of recollection, and I'm thinking about this, and it's a short section, right? So I get through the verses a couple times pretty quickly, still a lot of time left. So I'm just kind of relaxing into the thought of being His child and just feeling loved and taken care of by Him, and feeling, trying to cultivate that sense of trust that He's going to arrange things that will glorify Him, and that I just want to be a part of that. So just kind of resting and relaxing into that. And okay, and also I have a wacky strength and ability for estimating time. Like, I can often make a good estimate on either how much time has passed or what time it is. And so my sense was that it was starting to feel, a prayer of recollection is starting to feel kind of like we would be close to the end. But I was trying really hard not to get restless. So I put my Bible notebook out of my lap, and I just was settling into this sense of peace and trust. And also I was feeling very hungry because it was right before lunch. And I'm like, that's okay. And I was trying very hard not to look at my phone to see how long was left, because I really wanted to just say, God, you're the parent, I'm the child. I can just patiently and trustfully wait and enjoy this time with you until prayer of recollection is over. Just trying to really cultivate that. And as I did that, I kept getting more comfy. I pulled up my blanket higher, and I put one of my pillows that I lean on down lower, and I was just really settling in, but also getting really hungry. And really, like, I really think prayer of recollection would have been done by now, but I'm really trying to trust. And anyway, so I had this great experience with Him, but finally I'm like, what's going on? And I finally looked at my phone, and I had not set a timer, and it was long past 30 minutes. But even in this, you see, this was what God gave me for this day. It was this gift of a special time and a special trust with Him. It was very beautiful. Went downstairs, had lunch with the family, told them what had happened. We all laughed, and it was a good experience. So day goes on, rolls forward, and then last night I had the opportunity to do some interviews for church people, for church staff positions. And they were phone interviews because of coronavirus. So I finished the interviews, and my mind was really in a whirl, because I'd taken in a lot of information, and I was kind of I just couldn't make sense of all of my thoughts, and I was kind of confused by my thoughts, and I didn't know how I was going to be able to offer any productive response to the people who were wanting reactions from the interviews. And then we did bedtime with our girls, and we were my husband and I were laying down and talking with them, and we were talking about our days and what went well and what didn't. And I said, well, I'm kind of, I was really hoping to get the first section of my website published today for spiritual practices or prayer experiences, and that didn't happen because I had an interruption. And my daughter said, Mom, remember, you're the child, God's the parent, He's got the schedule. It's not your schedule, it's His schedule. And I was like, yeah, you're right. So then as I was getting ready for bed, I was also, like I said, I was just a little discombobulated, and couldn't make sense of my own thoughts. And I couldn't get my arms wrapped around what I was thinking, and I had a lot of confusion in my mind. So normally I try not to eat much sugar or much grains. But in my unraveled sense, I go down and basically gorge on chocolate chips and Kix cereal. And I'm like, now I probably won't sleep well because the sugars and the carbs are going to mess up my sleep. So anyway, go to bed. My mind is kind of in a stir and a turmoil. And I remember what my daughter said in the prayer of recollection, and I just tried to relax and put my mind in the mindset of a child, of a dependent child, completely trusting for everything, all the things that were astir in me. So I did, and God blessed that. That was beautiful. I was able to go to sleep, and I'm so thankful for that. But then at about 4 o'clock in the morning, I did wake up. And the interesting thing was, even in that, God started bringing me some clarity on my thoughts and helping me to understand what was confusing me and giving me, just kind of guiding me through some of that. Even though I had been, he worked through those chocolate chips and that kick cereal in the middle of the night wake up. So, so that was really a beautiful time. And then after having some clarity on that, then I I got up. I actually made a few notes, had a little snack of raw milk, which helps me sleep a lot, I think. And I felt like, God, I feel peaceful, and I thank you, and I want to just be the child, continue to be the child. So I went back to that position, mental position of just being the dependent child, and it was such a gift as he let me sleep again. I didn't know if I'd be able to get back to sleep, but he did let me sleep again. And I do not want to love God for his gifts, but I also want to be thankful for how he came through for me and how he did give me those gifts, and he is the giver of gifts. And that's not, we don't love him for the gifts, but I'm so thankful when he does give them. And I just thank you and I praise you, Jesus.